We are virgins no longer.
So a little fun fact about Greece.
In a boat, we're Americans. We're going to spend money. And at the risk of sounding morbid,
The oldest travel influencers on the podcast scene at some point here. So Chuck and I are happy to take your calls. Well, if I had a secretary, we're separate but equal. Someone has to like me best. Enough money and time, you can do anything you want in this world.
the man, the myth, and legend.
I got a Volvo.
Not a political statement.
Travel like something is potentially going wrong. Extra underwear. You can't wear shorts everywhere.
Chuck decides to move to France.
Well, first of all, let's just say this. Everybody get your passports. Who's coming? I'll fight you.
I'm not trying to be funny. They speak the language.
Today's my last day. We're just going to shut down right here.
We spent 4 days of the cruise in our cabins dying.
And if you're sick, don't travel. Ever handsome, ever friendly, ever wonderful. It's not that I don't like children.
She's very picky about everything but her men.
I do believe I proclaimed for the spirit that day. I don't wear pajamas.
And last week on Life in the Baggage Claim. Welcome, everyone, to Life in the Baggage Claim. We're a weekly podcast where we talk about all things travel. My name is Chuck Longerbeam. I am a travel advisor here in Charlottesville, Virginia. And with me always is my intrepid co-host, the ever-handsome, the ever-wonderful Jim Hauck. Jim, how are you today, my friend?
Hey, good morning, Chuck. Yes, as you stated, I'm Jim Hauck. I am ever wonderful, ever handsome, and quite intrepid. It's been a couple weeks. It's been a week of challenges this past week, but good. It's fun to get back here. I tell you, I look forward to the studio day every day of the week and getting in here and talking to you and catching up, and to all of you coming back. Thank you for joining us today and listening in again. We appreciate that. If you have to understand, we get together about half hour before we start recording, and we get our rapport going every time. It's sort of fun to catch up and tell stories. And if you haven't figured out by now, Life in the Baggage Claim is a storytelling site, right? And we are both almost master storytellers. And as a friend said to me, if there's a topic, you'll know something about it, and then you'll have a story for it. And I think Chuck and I are both the same way. So welcome back too. And Chuck, it's great to see you. You know what today is, right? It's our...
Jim, today is our 10th episode.
Hard to believe.
Very hard to believe.
And I say every week it's hard to believe. It sounds repetitive. I get it. But this will probably be the last milestone we'll call out for a while, because now you start going and waiting for the 15s, the 20s, the 50s. We've done 10 episodes. That's 10 weeks of commitment. I think 10 weeks of good content. Our user subscriber base is slowly growing, and we appreciate all of you who are doing the job of subscribing to us. Hopefully you're seeing we don't inundate you. We would love for you to get your friends and family and coworkers and your circles of everything you know to join us and sign up too. So please don't forget to like and subscribe and share, because it's helping us grow this little travel community we have and building this fun place to be.
Absolutely. Well, my charge for everyone this week is to please find a stranger and berate them to become a follower. Watch them do it on their phone and help us grow this podcast. I'm just joking. If you're just joining us, we're not mean people. But this week, Jim, we are going to be talking about our fall travel guide and the places and things that folks can and should do in the fall.
Yeah, fall. Wow. We are nearing the middle of August. We are the middle of August.
Yeah, crazy.
And it's hard to believe it's time to start talking fall, but it is time to start talking fall. It's time to get yourself planned into something if you want to do it this fall, because believe it or not, I was hearing this week that the cruise lines are starting to open up 2026, 2027 travel.
Yes.
They're talking about the Alaska cruise season next year online. It's far ahead. I don't think I ever remember being this far ahead that things were happening. So cruises are opening up earlier and filling faster. There's resorts. We're actually going to talk about a couple different things today. We're going to go through some different places to go and recommendations. And Chuck and I both have our favorites. But this is sort of things to think about, whether you're solo or you're a couple with no kids or you have a family. If this is your time of year to go traveling, we got some ideas. I want to bring up that, there's a lot of reticence right now. People have to sort of, I get it. You don't want to leave the country. Maybe you don't want to go away. You're concerned about spending money. And I know the outlook in the world can look bleak at times, but I would also say that there's a lot of places that would be very happy to see you, very happy for you to be there. So if you have not traveled much and you are looking to make a splash, hit a bucket destination, this is a great time to do it. Do it this year. There's a lot of places to go. So, Chuck, where's your favorite place to go when it's fall? What do you like to do?
Well, one of my favorite places to go anytime is the Caribbean. And in the fall, it starts to cool down. Or, as we start to cool down, it remains summer, basically. But Anyone who's listened to me before, Scotland starts to change in the fall. It starts to get a little cool. It's not cold, but well, Scotland in the fall reminds me of Virginia in the fall 30 years ago. And I'm going to sound like an old fart, but I've whined about this for years. When I was growing up in Virginia 40 years ago, fall was about 6 weeks long. And it was in the 60s in the daytime, and you had to put on a windbreaker in the evening. If you were going to hanging out with friends or whatever in a parking lot or whatever we did, you put on a windbreaker because it get a little bit chilly. And I miss that. Now we seem to go from, oh my God, it's hot, to, oh my God, it's cold. But Scotland, because of where it is in the world, on above the equator, or however you want to look at it, it still has that fall feel. Where the days are warm enough, but the nights start to get a little crisp, where you want to stand around a fire, or like on a patio or a deck or something like that. And hiking and backpacking in the Scottish Highlands in the fall is an absolutely wonderful thing to do, because again, it's not too hot and the scenery is absolutely breathtaking.
What's really great, folks, is we actually are going to have an episode at the end, near the end of September, that we'll put out. And it's all about Destination Scotland, because Chuck has so much love for Scotland. He's going to give you the lowdown rundown on everything and anything to do and why you need to go make a trip to Scotland. And I think I've never been. That's a challenge for me to go. I've been to the lower part of the kingdom, but not to the upper part. I do hear good things too. That's awesome. My favorite thing in fall used to be we would get in the car and do a fall colors trip. And I think, the good old American road trip is still a thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you have kids or if you're a couple, I don't know, it's a great solo trip. But, there's nothing wrong with heading off to New England and renting a car and go drive through Vermont and Maine and upstate New York and into Canada. And check out the fall colors. In fact, if you tune in 2 stations in the East, you'll see they often have a tracking guide of where the color is and where I wanted to see it. There's something magical and beautiful about watching the scenery colors change.
Well, it's interesting you said that, Jim, because I agree with you 100%, but I was also thinking about the southern U.S. So like New Orleans is horrible in the summertime. Weather-wise, icky and awful. But as fall comes around, it's still warm down there. But a lot of the humidity dissipates, and you can actually enjoy your time there. I was also thinking of South Carolina, Folly Beach, places like that. Still warm enough to enjoy the beach and the beach life, but not, a million degrees outside.
Yeah, and it was funny because I thought about this episode in our travel. A lot of it focused around what's going on in the U.S. that you can do, right? So I was trying to target a fact that if you don't want to travel internationally, this is a great time to go see the country.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple places I love for cruising at this time of year. And I'm going to go there just because, cruising is always a go-to for me. So obviously the Mexican Riviera is a very easy destination. You can fly out to LA and get a ship down to Puerto Vallarta and back. Usually warm. You have the transition that happens as you go down across the currents, and the water gets warmer around Cabo San Lucas, and things get warmer. You see beautiful sights. You end up in the tropical area of Puerto Vallarta. Sorry, I've actually gone all the way down to Acapulco on a cruise as well.
Nice.
But great place to go. Although I will say the Mexican Riviera cruise is where I did cruise my first hurricanes. But there's some great deals on FallTravel. Norwegian's got some stuff going on for cruises going down that way for the Mexican Riviera. So I think Mexican Riviera is beautiful. But I'm going to tell you what I really am excited about would be, I've started to look at these itineraries out of the Northeast corridor up into Quebec. And you don't think of this as a cruising space, because people think warm weather cruises, right? But fall foliage cruises are becoming bigger and bigger, departing out of New York and Boston and such. And then they end up in Quebec, or they end up in somewhere off that side of the country of Canada. And I think it's a great opportunity to take a cruise and see some inland waters. So you get to go to I think you get to go to Nova Scotia usually, and then into Quebec.
Interesting you say that. My mom is actually taking a repositioning cruise in October, Quebec to Miami, and they're going through Halifax and down that way, and I think she's stopping in New England, maybe Boston or someplace like that. But yeah, you don't think about that necessarily with the autumn, but it's still not that cold when you're coming around. It's not going to be the Caribbean, but you still can get an enjoyable cruise out of it.
Yeah, I think that repositioning cruises are finding a new light. A lot of people are really starting to get interested in those. In the olden days, we were youngins and young whippersnappers. When we were kids, the repositioning cruises were not popular. People didn't want to do that. Often for one reason, they're one way, meaning you start somewhere, end somewhere. You've got to book a strange return flight and all that kind of stuff. As air travel has evolved, you can easily make that two-way
Oh, yeah.
flight without any problems. They become neat cruises because you don't go back to the same place. You're sort of always going somewhere new. So I like that, which is going to segue me into the launch of the Brilliant Lady. So Virgin Voyages, as you know, we love them.
Yes.
And they're our go-to brand. We're both cruising on them at the end of November. And I've now dubbed it the Ship Happens Tour 2025. If you know Virgin, you know that's one of their expressions is ship happens. So I'm putting a lot of people on November voyages on Brilliant Lady. And why is that happening? Because Brilliant Lady's debuting. She's going to be in New York in a couple weeks. She may be already there. But it's their newest ship, the new lady ship, Brilliant Lady. She's a little slimmer, a little trimmer, and a lot more beautiful. She can make it through the Panama Canal now, which the other ones couldn't. She's going to be in New York to launch her U.S. debut. And they're going to do New York fall foliage tours up into Quebec. And then they're going to go from Quebec to Miami. And then somewhere in November, Chuck and I are going to find ourselves, along with others, getting on the ship and going. I actually think I have a client going in the week before me. Then I go. And then you're on right after us. We will have 3 weeks that we occupy the lovely Brilliant Lady.
Exactly. And we're going to start, and just for you folks listening now, Jim and I, as we go on cruises, we're going to start taking videos. And in a couple cases, we're actually going to do Jim. In fact, next week, Jim's going to do his podcast from a cruise ship, which he'll talk about in a moment.
So I think, that's great for cruises, right? Those are some great opportunities. Not to be shouted by anything else, there is also a ton of other places to go. And when you think fall, of course, you've got Halloween in there, and some of you are big Halloween fans. And I'm going to drop on cruises one more time. Virgin has an amazing Halloween cruise. I've not been on it, but I hear insanely fun stories from it. And if you are a Halloweeniac and you love Halloween so much, I think, a number of days on the sea in costume playing in Halloween is fun. However, I would suggest, and I lived up on the Northeast side, I know this is true, go into Boston area, go to Salem. Go ahead, check out Salem. It's a great Salem, Marblehead, those areas. Really fun during the holiday season for Halloween. There's some great hotels that are near in the city. There's history to see. There's a home with a pipe organ up at Marblehead you can go to where they play pipe organ during the Halloween season with all these haunting melodies. So great land opportunity. It's a great place to say you want to take the kids where you can all fly into Boston. You can get some reasonably priced hotels and travel around and see the New England area.
So having that, we talked about the northern and southern U.S. We talked about the Caribbean and Mexico. We talked about Scotland. The other thing, and you touched on this, Jim, is Mediterranean, Tuscany, southern France, even Paris. Paris, we talk about Paris in the spring. Paris in the fall is also gorgeous.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous about going much to that part of the world right now.
Okay.
And it's more about, there's a lot of volatility. And I just feel like I know some of my customers are a little hesitant to want to travel to the Caribbean, the European area, and in general. There are countries, obviously, it's not going to be a problem, but, it is something to be aware of. I mean, I think it's always good to have caution and always check the State Department sites out and look and see what's going on. But you're right. There's nothing better than Paris when it's cold. There's something magical. Paris is obviously, they have lights. There's something about when you are at the Tour Eiffel and night and the lights kick on and they sparkle. Everywhere's magical in Paris, in the fall and winter. So I would agree with you. Paris is a beautiful place to go.
Absolutely. And you're talking about Paris sitting on a street in a cafe or spending, if I don't know if anyone out there are museum fanatics, my wife and I are, and my son as well. And I can tell you, we spent an entire day in the Louvre and could have spent 3. I mean, there's so much to see there. It's absolutely stunning. Again, and these are things that are not necessarily warm weather things.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Louvre because it does say you do need a few days, but I too done it in a 1-day rush through tour. And I always laugh because I remember walking into the room where the Mona Lisa is and just going, wait, what? That's it? So I'm saying it loud enough for everybody else to hear and getting to the stairs and thinking, whoops.
You're not wrong. You grow up reading and saying the Mona Lisa, about the Mona Lisa and Da Vinci and the whole thing. And then you go in, at least when I was there, you go into this big room and there's sort of a white column that they have built in the middle. And the Mona Lisa it's like this big. It literally is tiny. Right. And you walk in and I'm like, okay, this must be an introduction to the Mona Lisa. Cause there's I'm like thinking like the Mona Lisa exhibit kind of thing in my, I guess, American head. And I walk into all these people around it. And as I get closer, I realize, no, that's the real thing. That's the real thing. And there's like 1,000 people trying to get close to this. Looks like, not really, but it almost looks like an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. And it's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. It's a masterpiece. Yeah, you're right. You go through all these things. And then there's this, and my son had just graduated college when we went over, and he had taken this art history class, and he became obsessed with this painting, and I can't remember who did it, but it's Joan of Arc. And I know that's anglicized, but I'm not even going to try to butcher it. I have a picture of my son, who is 6'3", standing looking at this painting, which is probably, and I'm not joking, 12, 14 feet tall. And that's what I'm seeing. I'm like, okay. And then you get to the Mona Lisa, and it's like, oh my goodness. But again, glad I saw it.
You see so many masters, and you see so much art that is historic. And then there's a lot of times, a lot of tapestries and things like that.
Beautiful.
You sort of have to think in your head differently as you're looking at these things. Because I'll be honest, I'm not the best art museum person. I enjoy going to see art, and I enjoy walking through a museum, but I'm not the kind to sit and stare at something for a long time and hope something's going to hit me, right? Some people can do that. I want to see what's there. I want to understand it. But there are certain exhibits I'm just like, okay, so it's some old rug,
You said that. So I am that guy 5% of the time. It's got to be a painting that really just grabs me by the shirt, and I will. But I'm not going to stare at it for an hour. But there are times where something will catch me, and I'll just, it's the deer in the headlights. It's like, oh my God, I got to take this in, and I might stand there for a couple of minutes. But I grew up my parents owned a construction company. My father was a cabinet maker. I have a wood shop. My wife was laughing at, because as you go through the Louvre toward the end of the tour, you actually go through the private apartments of Napoleon. When, for those of you who don't know, and I don't want to turn this into a history lesson, but the Louvre was actually Napoleon's palace long, way back in the day, and then it became a national museum. But we're weaving our way through toward the exit, and I am having those moments looking at like furniture, and my wife's laughing at me, and I'm like, and I'm looking at the joinery, and I'm all down looking in it. And my wife's just like, are we done here? I'm like, yeah, okay, let's go.
In the world we live in today, things are just so different. You don't think about something designed or built or created 1,000 years ago,
right?
How much different it was to do. Pre-industrial, pre-modern times.
Hand tools.
Paints and tools and weaving and all was different. And I have to say to myself when I'm in a museum, stop. This was not mass produced with some printing press in China.
Right.
This was done. Someone sat there and literally did every thread or every stroke. And you're right. Some of those masters' paintings are gigantic.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, wow. And then you see the Mona Lisa and you go, oh, you didn't try hard enough. But it is a stunning image. And when you look at it, her eyes follow you.
They do.
And it is something to behold, and to say that it's 1,000 years old or whatever, right? It's fairly old. It's in good shape. Don't know that that's actually the original, because, as most people think, a lot of the artwork that's out is usually a very good copy, while the original has been shipped off to another planet to save in case we all perish. Museum tours are great places when you are in another country, right? That's like one of those things to do. We got way up on the Paris track there. I think same with England. You can go there now. Don't forget, we've talked about this in another episode. German Christmas markets are coming online in September and October. Mm-hmm. If you've not been to a German Christmas market, and they're held outside of Germany, so you don't have to go to Germany. If you go to anywhere in Europe, pretty much you will find yourself a Christmas market. And it's a great place for a little mulled cider, some hot chocolate, place to walk around with your kids, and then to see local artisans and their wares. It gets you in the holiday spirit, which is what fall is all about. As God knows, I think if you go into Home Depot right now, Halloween's out, and in a couple of weeks, Christmas movies.
Well, and it's interesting you said that, because, the Christmas markets and all of that. I mean, if you've ever read a Dickinson novel or ever seen anything like that, it's so charming. Like, it brings you right back to it. It really does.
It's a Hallmark moment, right? That's always what I say.
We're still on Europe. We were talking about the south of France, like the French Riviera, still reasonably warm in the autumn, but not as crowded.
And one of the hot spots this year, and I don't know what made it a hot spot, but a lot of folks are going to Portugal. You can never go wrong going to Portugal, other than you won't learn the language real easily, because Portuguese is a very interesting blend and slur of tones and statements. A beautiful place to be. Spain is beautiful. Those areas, they're good to go to. But I think from a suggestions perspective, I kind of stuck more to the Caribbean and U.S. for this time of year. It's quick, easy trips. I'm trying to think of our budget conscious and budget friendly folks who are sitting there going, I don't have the thousands of dollars to go to Europe. I think the dollar is still pretty strong against the currency in Europe. So, yeah. So which one?
For now. Well, and you brought up an interesting point talking about the U.S., and it's a little bit more expensive, but there's always Hawaii. Hawaii is one of the most, if you've never been to Hawaii, I lived in Hawaii for 2 years. It's one of the most beautiful places on the planet. And it is the only place that I have ever been that absolutely stands up to the hype. When people tell you, oh, every picture you take is a postcard and it's this and it's that and the people and the food and the da. All of it's 100% true. The worst day in Hawaii is better than the best day on the mainland. I promise you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you live on the East Coast, you're going to be on a plane for, it's about 5 hours to San Francisco and about 5.5 to Hawaii. But if you're on the West Coast, it's, out of San Francisco or LA or Seattle, you're there in about 5.5 hours. And I promise you, I've never, ever, ever heard anybody go, I don't like Hawaii. I've never heard that.
Yeah, every Californian goes to Hawaii, right? Just like everyone in New York goes to Europe, it's that same trade-off, right? It's the quick flight. Hawaii is definitely a beautiful destination. Back to like other trips, one thing that I would highly encourage folks to consider this fall would be looking at state parks. Given funding and what's going on in the government, you may want to see some of these before they're not seeable.
Right.
I think one of my favorites is Zion and the Bryce National Canyon. Those two you can do together. They're good day tours. They're a great way to do another cross-country road trip. Yep. I grew up doing cross-country road trips, so I have a little affinity and love for the fact of thinking about getting in the car, even though there's a lot of bad memories too. There's a fair amount of good stuff. But Utah has those two great and many other national parks. If you have never been to a park in the desert Southwest, Utah, Arizona, Nevada, you should. And I think everyone should take one time in their life to hit the road and see these sites. Some of them are decaying just because weather changes them and we lose parts of them, right? So the natural arches and bridges aren't going to be there forever. But the colors and what you get with a little bit of sunshine and the changes of light, there's nothing beats going to the Grand Canyon, Bryce, Zion. I mean, those are great parks.
I agree.
And it's a great place to go when you just don't know what to do, right? You can get a cheap hotel. Mm-hmm. You're going to be under $100 probably a night.
Oh, yeah.
Where you can venture out of. You're going to get good food at a lot of the greasy spoon diners around. And you have quiet evenings. You'll hear coyotes. You'll hear nature. And it gets dark enough to see stars, in those kind of places, which is nice. So I really think those are great opportunities too. And by the way, anything we're recommending to you, we can get you into. That's our goal, right? Both travel advisors. This show is great for us. We love to let our voice out there and talk stories and tell you stuff to laugh at. But we also want to get your business and drive some sales here. We can do this stuff, right?
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Chuck. You got some others?
Well, what I was going to say is you're absolutely right. Going back, first of all, folks, if you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, share, ask your friends and neighbors to subscribe. It would really help us out. But no, you were talking about national parks, and one that's near and dear to my heart that I don't think a lot of people, it doesn't get as much, it's not as sexy baby as some of the others, is Glacier National Park in Helena, right outside of Helena, Montana. My wife and I, it's a quick story, but this is why it's so, and this just goes to the bigger picture of travel and how it evokes memories and does good things for you. When my wife and I, we were living together, we weren't married yet, and we were living in Portland, Oregon. And for my 27th birthday, she surprised me. We didn't have any money, but she surprised me with train tickets. So we slept in not a sleeper coach. We couldn't afford that, but we slept in the seats. We went overnight on a train to Helena, Montana. And then we spent 7 days backpacking. I mean, full on carry your food, carry your water, the whole nine in the backcountry for 7 days in Glacier. And, I remember we woke up one morning and we were at McDonald Lake, which if you've never been there, you walk out to McDonald Lake and you look that way and it goes forever and then turns right. And you look at it this way and it goes forever and turns left. It's this massive, massive lake up in the mountains. And we swam. It was colder than whatever, but we did it anyway because we were there. And I just remember thinking, if this woman is dumb enough to backpack with me for 7 days when she didn't grow up that way at all, then she's the woman for me. And I proposed not too long after that. But yeah, it's just all of that, those memories, like I can still smell the fresh air and I can still remember what we ate. And you were talking about 30 years ago. So yeah, I mean, Jim and I are both cruisers. We're both cruise fanatics. I'm also, I'll go to the Caribbean anytime to an all-inclusive resort. I'm a land baby too. I don't mind that. But don't sleep, especially if you've got a family, or like you said, if you're a solo hiker or even younger. I probably wouldn't go to Glacier and hike now. I'm not sure my knees would take it, but I will never forget that what they did. So beyond the cruises and all that, which are all fantastic and we can help you with, there's a lot of beauty in this country. And like Jim said, unfortunately, we might be on a ticking clock as to how long we get to enjoy it. Get out there, and if you want to do something like that, don't put it off. Do it now. Yeah. And then one of the last ones I wanted to talk about, Jim, and I'm sure you've got others as well. I've been doing some research. Haven't been there yet, but they say Kyoto, Japan, and is in the fall, the foliage and the leaves turn, and they say it's one of the most beautiful places on earth.
Yeah, and I do have one other land I want to talk about, but I have heard through the grapevine that Celebrity, one of our other favorite lines, is working on, they're going to bring more ships than they ever have. So is Princess over to Japan next year. There's a big expansion in interest in Japan. And I think a lot of Americans are getting more interested in going to Japan. I personally have it on my bucket list. I want to do an Asian cruise, right? I want to go see a lot of Asia that way. I'm a big fan of, if I don't know where I want to go and a cruise line will take me to a bunch of stops, it's a way to see a bunch of things, have a stable hotel and meals, and kind of in and out of country and city, and say, okay, I'm going to go back to this one later, right? So that's a great way, just like the Med, to kind of go get a bunch in. And so I think something out of, there's all this great cruising going over in Asia, and I think we forget about it sometimes, right? It's not, because we all hear Med and Caribbean, right? That just sort of seems to be a thing. Back on our land tours, the one thing I wanted to talk about was just a memory for myself, is that as kids, we had a couple of cross-country road trips, and one of them we had gone back to Pittsburgh, where my family lived, and my parents bought a new SUV. Before SUVs were the thing, right? We were driving a Chevy Suburban. They bought it from my uncle, God rest his soul. He just left us. He was a car dealer, and they made a deal with him. They bought this Suburban, and we drove it back home from Pittsburgh to California. And on the way, we went to Grand Canyon. Oh. And so as kids, I remember, Grand Canyon as a kid is sort of like, okay, yeah, it's a big hole in the ground, whatever. You don't really get the grandeur of it, but you do see it. Mm-hmm. I had this lovely moment when my dad moved from California here to Texas to be with me. We drove, and we intentionally took a few days. And when we got to the Grand Canyon, I knew what spot I wanted to go to, and it was where I'd gone as a kid. And he was like, "Oh, I don't think I'm going to walk up there." And I just like, you've got to. I turned around and he had showed up, and we stood there, and I put my arms around him, and I was like, I can't believe, it's 40 years later, and we're standing here looking at the Grand Canyon. And it was a great kind of reunion moment, but it really meant something. Looking at it then, I got a big feel out of it. But sometimes reliving those childhood memories can be really fun. So if you got someplace you went as a kid that you say, I wonder what it's like now, go do it. Check it out.
Absolutely.
So, and I'm very thankful for that memory. That stuck with me through a lot of things. A lot of times when I wasn't happy with him, that was where I would go in my head. It was just something magical when you get to do it over again, right? 40 years later, it was still an amazing place to go. Hey, one other thing I really would like to suggest is, Dollywood has an amazing resort. And I didn't even know about this place until I started doing this research. But it's the Dollywood Dream Resort. I mean, so if you are a Dolly Parton fan, and I hate to say it, but I am, I've always liked Dolly Parton. She's gaining her popularity again. She's coming back out. She's actually going on tour.
I know that.
I can't believe she's going to go back on tour.
How old is she now?
I don't know. It's like Cher in the final tour.
Yeah. This is the last one, I swear. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Until I get enough stuff pumped into me to stay alive longer.
Right.
Cher never ages, so go look for that photo on a wall somewhere, right?
No lie.
Dollywood is a fun amusement park, right? I mean, I've not actually been myself, but people I know have gone, had a great time. And it beats going to a lot of the other places that are in the area. But Dollywood has this resort, the Dream Resort. The pictures I've seen are amazing. The reviews I've read are amazing. And friends that I know have actually gone said it was a fun place to be, and Dollywood's fun. The Smoky Mountain area is sort of a nice retreat. But I mean, going sometimes to those places that we might call country, right, are good. I think they're beautiful. I mean, there's scenery. There's a sense of a harkens to a time that was simpler at times, and people were a little more friendly, and they'll say, "Oh, you're pretty," and bless your heart.
Well, and I've got, like you said, I've got friends who go to Dollywood and have been trying to talk me into go, and I've got friends who go to Gatlinburg every year. Gatlinburg, Tennessee is really, really hot. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Was a big Civil War fan or a big U.S. history fan, right? I mean, there's a lot to be seen in those areas.
Right. Yeah, the Gatlinburg area, all down through there. Like I said, South Carolina, there's all sorts of beautiful stuff around. So I'm a big pirate fanatic. Charleston has a huge they have pirate tours. They have a place where Steve Bonnet was hung at the Battery. There's a building. It's a plaque. I took a picture of it. It's a brothel. It's historically they found it. It's not BS. A brothel where Blackbeard used to hang out. So there's all sorts of stuff. You're right, Jim. If you want to go to Kyoto, we got you covered. If you want to go to the Caribbean, if you want to go to the south of France, we got you covered. But right now, if you're feeling a little squirrely about how things are in the world, there are so many beautiful places in this country that we could send you to make memories with your family or with just you and your partner or whatever. No.
I think everybody should actually go out and see parts of the country where you might not think the people are going to be what they are, but honestly, most people aren't what you're seeing on TV. They're a lot nicer. I find in those country towns and those far-flung areas that you meet a lot of really nice people.
Oh, God, yes. And,
very gracious, very open, very welcoming. Go to a small town somewhere in the Smoky Mountains or somewhere in the Dakotas or something like that. You're going to find someone who's just going to make you feel special.
Let's be realistic. And I find the same thing with people. It's all how you come in. I mean, if you come in with a political t-shirt on screaming about one side or the other, yeah, you're going to get pushed back. It's going to happen. If you're just being a kind, normal human being, and you're just in a place to get to know people, and you don't wear your politics and your nonsense on your sleeve. I have found very, very few times in my 57 years where people start making assumptions about me before I ever open my mouth. It's rare. And if they do, then they're jerks, and they were going to do that regardless. Yeah, I grew up in small southern towns, and I found that if you're courteous and you approach people from an honest place, they will reciprocate. And
absolutely. Yeah, and I think that's the reality is there is not what's going on TV. It's not life. Don't look at social media. If going out and actually meeting folks in your own city, your own town, and even exploring your own state can be some of the most rewarding travel experiences, right? And I think as kids go back to school, if you want a quick weekend getaway, if you can snuggle the kids off to grandma's house and you could have the week away, it doesn't have to be a big production. Hop in the car and take a drive.
Absolutely.
Hey, I'm going to drive 3 days somewhere,
right,
and drive 3 days back.
Right.
Very easy to do. Hopping on a train, take the train to one of the major cities. Travel is sort of sadly underrated. They're not always the greatest cars. They're not always the most luxury, lavish spaces. Where, you can get a sleeping car pretty cheaply, and you can take a 3-day trip that is literally 3 days on the rails with a few stops, and you're going to see amazing scenery, and you're not going to be where the cars are. So trains go sort of off the beaten path, right? And that's the cool thing. And there's so much of this country to see. So much of the U.S. is just beautiful.
Well, I'm glad you brought up trains. I'm 6'2", 250 pounds. I'm not a small child, and I've got very long legs. And flying for me is a misery. And it's not the airlines. It's not any of that. It's just, and I have raging ADHD, so small seats, confined, and you can't walk around a lot. It's hard on me. So my wife and I have talked about it. If you look where we live pretty much the dead center of the East Coast, up and down. And if we're going anywhere within 9 hours of drive time on the East Coast, we take the train instead of fly, unless it's someplace where we absolutely have to be there or whatever. Because what we found is you can get up and walk around. First of all, there's bulkheads where you have crazy amounts of room. There's outlets beside you. There's Wi-Fi, a food car. There's a barred car. You literally, and I mean this, if you wanted to get up and pace up and down the train the entire trip, you're more than welcome to. People might look at you funny, but there's none of the sit down, Captain seatbelt sign. And for me, I find that it's just a lot more physically comfortable. And if it's going to take me 9 hours to drive there, but it takes me 11 hours on a train, I'll take those 2 hours. And again, last thing, unlike flying, there's no TSA pre-checks and all that stuff. You walk in, you give them your bags, they scan them, they stick them under the train, you get on the train. So you don't have to get to the train station 2 hours ahead of time like you do an airport. And again, I'm not saying anything against air travel. I'm getting ready to take a flight in December. But if possible, give the train a chance. If you, like Jim said, if you live in Texas and you want to go to Colorado, hop on a train. Trust me, you will be glad you did. Because you figure in the
itinerary from Dallas to Chicago to Seattle to LA to Dallas. That's about a 2-week itinerary. It's a lot of time on a train, but go look at that. That's more than 2/3 of the country you get to see.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Each of those routes have significant historical interest. Right. They were built for the purposes of growing the country and moving people around. So you see the Empire Central line that goes across the north is amazing. The Chicago line is amazing. They are going to show you a diversity of scenery. They're going to show you a diversity of places, and they're going to show you parts of the country you're not going to get to by car really easily. So I agree. Trains are not the glamorous, star-studded, show-stopping things, but they are a great mode of transportation. And what I have often heard from folks and from a kid I remember is you slow down on a train intentionally. Like you don't sit there on your device. So yeah, if you're into your iPad all the time and your phone, you might put it down because you might find time to actually uncheck that box and watch what's going on around you.
Right. And I think it's wonderful that we live in a time where you have those choices. So if I'm going to Miami to get on a cruise ship, I'm taking a flight. I want to get there. I want to get on the cruise ship. The point is the cruise ship. The point is not the flight. But yeah, if I'm going to Miami for a week just to hang out, I'll take the plane.
Didn't you drive to Fort Lauderdale for university?
Yes, I did. 14 hours.
Yeah, it was one of those. I was sort of like, oh boy, this guy's a little crazy. But yeah, I think the classic road trip is sometimes missed as an opportunity. Yeah. And yeah, if you got kids, it may seem daunting, I'm sure, to have your kids in the back. I know my sister and I had some of our best fights in the back of a car. And, drew great lines on who could go where. Mm-hmm. My sister slept through most of her road trips. I think she would tell you today she doesn't know most of what she saw. The other part, she was hanging her head out the window and upchucking, so.
Yeah.
But, one last thing I think would bring up as a great area to go is, and it's in the news a lot lately, is Yellowstone. There's the great fear that Yellowstone is going to re-erupt and, news headline, Yellowstone erupts. I mean, Yellowstone is an active volcano site or an active site, and we have learned through science and technology that there is a super volcano basically under Yellowstone that we've just thought was nothing, right? And you can watch some good videos about the potential and what ifs. If you like what ifs and you want to see what could happen, if Yellowstone had a chain reaction go off, you could say bye-bye U.S. I mean, there's nobody in the world who won't be affected by it.
Right.
To be the next dinosaur cataclysm if it happens,
exactly,
right?
Exactly.
You need to go see because some of that stuff is awe-inspiring. Pools of water, mud bubbles, all the scenery is beautiful in Yellowstone. The Grand Tetons are not to be missed either. Again, these were childhood trips I took, car trips. And I think they're great to do today as well. So I would really say, reach out to us, tell us you'd like to see America, and we will plot a course for you.
Exactly.
We can make it happen. So I think that I think that's all I really got on FallTravel. There is so much to do. Just don't hesitate to reach out. We're including information in all our videos about how to reach us.
Yep.
Websites, jphauckadventures.com and walkabouttravel.com. Now that we're 10 episodes, we are working on some guests, and we have a couple lined up. I've done some interviews. So we're starting to get a little ahead of ourselves, which is nice. So we're not just, we came into this with a plan. Don't get me wrong. This is not a wing it as we go show, but we don't script things. That's very important to us. It's about conversations and storytelling. So finding guests that we feel fit with that is also going to be interesting. Next week, I have the privilege of being on the Celebrity Beyond due to a friend who is generous. We are staying in the penthouse suite, and I've sent the video to Chuck, and his first response is, how can you afford that?
Hey, it's an honest question.
He's being honest because he knows that I'm, I'm in a fledgling business here. I'm just starting up, right? So I'm fortunate I was taken along as a guest, but I'm planning to podcast from, you can say it, Chuck, when I'm done.
No, what I was going to say is I was just hoping you were going to say, oh, if you take this class and you go to this, you can go too.
Well, I still have you're not going to get this. I still have the one I wanted, Star U to use and haven't used it yet. So, but so I'll be podcasting hopefully live from the Celebrity Beyond. Now, for those of you who know at all, Celebrity Beyond was the ship that was captained by the first American female ship captain, Kate McCrew. She's no longer there. It sort of bummed me out when she announced she was leaving because, part of our excitement was we were going to be on Captain Kate's ship and we might meet her. And then she turned around and went off to work for, one of the yacht companies. And we're like, oh, but we're still going to be on the Celebrity on a beautiful ship. I've never been on it before. I've never been on with the flying carpet. That's something different, whatever they call it. Mm-hmm. So I'll be broadcasting and talking to Chuck live from that, which means I'll spin my camera around and show the beautiful space that I'm in, hopefully, and we'll have good weather.
Right.
And I'm going to be with a friend and her sister and her niece. We're going to have a great time. No matter what happens, we're going to have a great time. I mean, my God, this level of cruising we're going to go to is going to break me. I don't know if I can ever do it again because It's going to be so special. And then we have a couple invited guests coming up. I recently interviewed an author who's going to join us. She writes travel books. She's from Melbourne and other parts of in Europe. So she's an international guest. She was really fun to do, and we're going to actually interview her together on the show. What's funny is she came to us and asked us if she could show up on our show, and she says, "You guys are just so funny. I want to be part of that." And I sort of thought, "Wow, we're funny." Okay, I wasn't sure we were that funny, but I guess we're funny.
Right, you didn't say funny looking.
No, she did not add the word "looking" to her funny statements.
She might have felt it, but at least it was nice of her not to say it.
And then we're going to bring my business coach is going to come on and talk with us, sort of do a little business conversations. But we're working on stuff. We've met some really great people through some matchups we're going to. I've been invited on a couple other shows. So we're starting to find like our roots are spreading, right? It's like we're gonna populate and infest everywhere we can.
Right. We're in it to win it.
Yeah. So we're all in on this. And as we're at episode 10, happy 10th anniversary to us, at 10th week anniversary. If you've been here for all 10, boy, we love you. We do. Oh. And please hit a comment and say, I've been here from the beginning.
Please do.
We'd like to hear that. Comments are always welcome. We love hearing from you. We are on so many platforms now. This week we added Pandora, and I didn't know you could be on Pandora as a podcast. I feel special because I lived in San Francisco when Pandora came to life, and I remember how cool it was. So,
great.
And we have our website. We have tons of social media. We drop trailers. Just tell us. What?
We have bells.
Tolls again. So you don't think about these things in your house, and I have listened to a couple of our videos, and you hear my dogs, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't hear them. So why do I hear them on this? Because you could tune them out, right?
Right. Well, it was funny. Jim and I were on a podcast yesterday. It was a question and answer session, and my cat was in here losing her mind, and I could imagine you guys were all like, "Stop with the cat," but nobody said anything. So either you were being very nice, or you didn't hear her, but she was having a ball behind me. So.
We couldn't hear her. That's the good thing. I got to change my probably cancellation settings to get rid of the dog and bell noises. But yeah.
So, Jim, you have anything else, or should we wrap up?
It's a good wrap up. I probably went on way too long, and I think I talked too much as I usually do. And
part of your charm, my friend.
They learned just how to shut me up.
Nah, it's part of your charm. We just let you go. All right. So, folks, thank you again. It's Life in the Baggage Claim, our podcast. I'm Chuck Longerbeam with my co-host,
Jim Hauck.
And as always, we are happy to be here and to chat with you folks and give you good information as best we can. Again, this is our 10th episode, so woo to us, and we will be back next week.
We will. Have a great week, everybody. Safe travels if you're on the road, and happy summer.
Take care, folks.